I never asked to be born. Hell, my parents never asked for me either. The way my mom tells it, she was young and stupid, head over heels for some guy who couldn't keep it in his pants. Next thing you know, boom, baby on the way. That baby was me, Sheila, the mistake. Mom wanted to get rid of me, but both sets of grandparents found out and shut that down real quick. Back then, you didn't raise kids alone. So Mom and Dad got hitched, and I came along kicking and screaming 9 months later. Dad never let me forget how I'd ruined his life. There goes my youth, he'd mutter every time he looked at me. To him, I wasn't a daughter, I was a ball and chain, dragging him down from the life he thought he deserved. For 10 years, it was just the three of us in that little house. Me, tiptoeing around, trying not to piss off Dad. Mom, cooking and cleaning like her life depended on it. And Dad, coming home from work with a scowl that only deepened when he saw me. Then came the miracle, my little sister. Sarah, the golden child. The one they actually wanted. And me? I was shoved even further into the background. Sheila, watch your sister. Sheila, be quiet. Sarah's sleeping. Sheila, why can't you be more like Sarah? It was Sarah this, Sarah that. She got new clothes, I got hand-me-downs. She got praise, I got scolded. She got love, I got used to disappointment. By the time I was 10, I was doing most of the housework. Scrubbing toilets, mopping floors, dusting shelves, you name it, I did it. Not that I got any thanks for it. It was just expected. But there was one chore I didn't mind, cooking. Something about mixing ingredients, creating flavors, it felt like magic. I remember the first time I made my special lasagna for a family gathering. Aunt Linda took a bite and her eyes lit up. Mary, this is incredible. When did you become such a master chef? Mom just smiled and nodded, soaking up the praise. I stood in the corner, invisible as always. Actually, I made it, I said, trying to make my voice heard. Aunt Linda laughed, like I'd just told a joke. Sheila likes to help in the kitchen sometimes, Mom cut in smoothly, still basking in the compliments. Isn't that right, dear? I shut my mouth, knowing it was pointless. No one ever believed me anyway. Growing up, the kitchen became my sanctuary. While Sarah got showered with attention and gifts, I found solace in pots and pans. By the time I hit high school, I could whip up a mean pot roast that even Dad couldn't complain about. Not bad, he'd grunt, shoveling food into his mouth. Coming from him, that was high praise. But it wasn't just about feeding my family. I had bigger dreams. Every night, I'd close my eyes and picture it, my own restaurant, bustling with happy customers, all of them savoring my creations. One night at dinner, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I want to open a restaurant someday, I blurted out. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Sarah snickered. You? A restaurant? Mom looked concerned, like I'd just announced I wanted to be an astronaut. Dad didn't even look up from his plate. Restaurants fail all the time, you'd be broke in a month. But I'm good at cooking, I protested. Everyone likes my food. Everyone likes free food, Dad scoffed. Doesn't mean they'd pay for it. Sarah piped up, her voice sickeningly sweet. Maybe you could work at McDonald's, Sheila. I hear they're always hiring. When it came time for college, I set my sights on the best culinary school I could find. To my shock, Dad agreed to pay for it. This is your inheritance, he said gruffly. Don't expect anything else. The house, the savings, that's all going to Sarah. I should have been hurt, but honestly, I was too excited about culinary school to care. This was my chance to prove myself, to learn from real chefs and hone my skills. College was a whirlwind of chopping, sautéing, and baking. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. My classmates actually appreciated my cooking, and my instructors praised my creativity. But reality came crashing back when I graduated. With no money for my own place, I had to move back home. The contrast between my college life and my family's indifference was stark. "So, you're a chef now?" Sarah smirked over dinner. "Does that mean you'll be doing all the cooking from now on?" Mom jumped in before I could respond. "That's a wonderful idea. Sheila can cook, and you can focus on your studies, dear." And just like that, I was back to being the family maid. But this time, with a culinary degree gathering dust on my shelf. I managed to land a job as an assistant chef at a local restaurant. The pay was lousy, but it was a foot in the door. Every night, I'd come home exhausted, only to face a mountain of dishes and laundry. "This is your rent," Mom would say, handing me a list of chores. "You're not a child anymore. You need to contribute." But I didn't let it break me. Every spare moment, I was planning, dreaming, scheming. I knew that someday, somehow, I'd have my own restaurant. And when that day came, I'd show them all what Sheila was really capable of. 2 years crawled by, each day a carbon copy of the last. I cooked, I cleaned, I worked my ass off at the restaurant, and I watched as Sarah continued to be showered with everything I'd ever wanted. The day Sarah started high school, Dad came home with a shit-eating grin on his face. "Sarah, honey," he called out. "Come see what I got you." We all trooped outside. There, sitting in our driveway like some kind of shiny insult, was a brand new car. A fucking car. "But, I can't even drive yet," Sarah said, her eyes wide. Dad laughed, tossing her the keys. "You will soon enough. My girl deserves the best, right from the start." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. When I turned 16, I got a second-hand bike. And even that was only because I needed it to get to my part-time job. It didn't stop there. Every week, there was something new for precious Sarah. The latest iPhone, a MacBook Pro, designer clothes. They even renovated her bedroom, turning it into something that looked like it belonged in a luxury hotel. Meanwhile, I was still in my old room. The same faded wallpaper, the same creaky bed I'd had since I was 10. But hey, at least the spiders kept me company, right? I started thinking about moving out. Maybe I could find a roommate, split the rent on some tiny apartment. Anything would be better than this constant reminder of how little I mattered. But then came Christmas. I'd been saving up, determined to get everyone nice gifts for once. Show them I wasn't the failure they thought I was. I ended up buying lottery tickets for everyone, not the cheap scratch-offs, but tickets for the big jackpot. Christmas morning came, and I handed out the envelopes, trying not to look too eager. Mom opened hers first. Her face fell. "Oh, lottery tickets." Dad snorted. "What is this, a gas station gift?" Sarah didn't even bother opening hers. She just rolled her eyes. "Gee, thanks Sheila, real thoughtful." "Well," Mom said, her voice sickly sweet, "I guess since Sheila didn't really get us anything, she won't be expecting any gifts either. That seems fair, doesn't it?" I felt a lump forming in my throat. Without a word, I snatched the lottery tickets from Dad's hand. "You know what? I'll take them. Merry bloody Christmas." I stormed out, ignoring their shocked faces. Screw their family dinner. I texted my coworker, Jen. "Hey, you still at the restaurant? Mind some company?" An hour later, I was sitting at the bar of the closed restaurant, nursing a glass of cheap champagne with Jen. As the night wore on, Jen and I traded stories about horrible families and crushed dreams. It wasn't exactly a Hallmark Christmas, but at least I felt less alone. A few days later, I was at work as usual. During the break, I reached for my phone. There was a missed call from an unknown number. "Probably just another scam," I muttered, tossing the phone aside. But then it rang again. Same number. Curiosity got the better of me, and I answered. "Hello, is this Sheila Thompson?" a cheery voice asked. "Yeah, who's this?" "This is Linda from the State Lottery Commission. I'm calling to inform you that you're holding a winning ticket." I almost dropped the phone. "What? Are you serious?" "Absolutely. One of your tickets matched all the numbers in Christmas drawing." After taxes, your winnings come to $690,000. The world spun around me. In a daze, I headed home. My mind was racing. This was it. My chance to finally open my own restaurant. To show everyone what I could do. I burst through the front door, unable to contain my excitement. You won't believe what happened. They were all sitting at the kitchen table, looking at me like I'd grown a second head. I won the lottery, I blurted out. One of the tickets, the one I was going to give Mom, it won. $690,000 after taxes. For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then Sarah's shrill voice cut through the air. That money belongs to us, she screeched. You bought those tickets as gifts for Mom and Dad. Anything that belongs to them belongs to me. I felt like I'd been slapped. What? No, they gave the tickets back to me. They're mine. Mom and Dad exchanged a look. Sheila, Dad said slowly, be reasonable. You live under our roof. You owe us. Now, hand over that ticket. We'll take care of everything. I took a step back, my hand instinctively going to my pocket where the ticket was. No, I said, surprising even myself with how steady my voice was. This is my ticket, my win. I'm going to use it to open my own restaurant. Dad's face turned an alarming shade of red. Now you listen here, young lady. No, you listen. I shouted, years of pent-up frustration pouring out. I've spent my whole life being treated like a second-class citizen in this family. Well, not anymore. This is my chance, and I'm taking it. If that's how you feel, Mom said, her voice ice cold, then you can get out of this house. Now. I stared at them, these people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. In that moment, I saw them clearly for the first time. Fine, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I'm gone. I stormed up to my room, threw some clothes and essentials into a bag, and walked out. They watched me go, probably thinking I'd come crawling back in a day or two. They couldn't have been more wrong. My first stop was the lottery office, to claim my winnings. Then, I headed straight to a real estate agent. I need an apartment, I told the surprised agent. Something available immediately. By that evening, I was sitting in my very own place. It wasn't much, a small one-bedroom in a decent part of town, but it was mine. All mine. As I sat on the floor, I hadn't had time to buy furniture yet, eating takeout and scrolling through restaurant equipment catalogs on my phone, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, hope. First things first, I needed a solid business plan. I spent weeks hunched over my laptop, researching, crunching numbers, and planning every detail. After what felt like a million revisions, I finally had a plan I was proud of. Next step, location. I scoured the city, looking for the perfect spot. Finally, I found it, a small, run-down space that had been empty for years. The landlord practically laughed when I said I wanted to turn it into a restaurant. Good luck with that, sweetheart, he chuckled, handing me the keys. I spent the next 3 months turning that dump into my dream. I hired contractors, picked out every fixture, and personally scrubbed every inch of the place. It was backbreaking work, but every blister and bruise felt like a badge of honor. Finally, opening day arrived. I stood in the kitchen, my kitchen, surrounded by the staff I'd handpicked and trained myself. The first order came in, and I felt a rush of adrenaline. Let's do this, I said, tying on my apron. The first few months were a whirlwind. I worked 18-hour days, cooking, managing, and doing whatever needed to be done. Slowly but surely, word started to spread. People loved my food, not just the taste, but the love and creativity I poured into every dish. I introduced a loyalty program for regular customers, giving them special discounts and first dibs on new menu items. It was a hit. Soon, I had a core group of regulars who came in so often, they felt like family. But I didn't stop there. I set up a delivery service, partnering with local couriers to bring my food right to people's homes. It was a gamble, quality control was a nightmare at first, but it paid off. Social media became my new best friend. I posted daily specials, behind-the-scenes kitchen videos, and engaged with customers online. My follower count grew, and with it, my customer base. 2 years in, I was turning a profit. It wasn't huge, but it was something. I started looking for a second location. Opening the second restaurant was easier in some ways. I knew what I was doing now, but harder in others. Suddenly, I couldn't be everywhere at once. I had to learn to delegate, to trust my staff, to maintain my standards when I wasn't there. But we made it work. And 3 years after that, I opened my third location. Before I knew it, I was the owner of a successful restaurant chain. Me, Sheila Thompson, the girl who was never supposed to amount to anything. I won't lie, it wasn't easy. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, wondering if I was in over my head. Days when I wanted to throw in the towel and admit defeat. But every time I walked into one of my restaurants, saw the happy customers, smelled the delicious food, I knew it was all worth it. It was just another Tuesday. I was in my office, going over the books for my newest restaurant, when my phone rang. I glanced at the screen and froze. It was a number I hadn't seen in years, home. For a moment, I considered letting it go to voicemail. But curiosity got the better of me. "Hello?" I answered, my voice cautious. "Sheila?" It was Mom. "Look, I know we've had our differences, but we need your help. It's about Sarah." Of course it was always about Sarah. "What about her?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. Dad's voice came on the line. "She's in trouble, Sheila, she lost her job. They're accusing her of theft, and now no one will hire her. We were hoping you might have a position for her at one of your restaurants." I almost laughed. After everything they'd put me through, they had the nerve to ask for a favor? But then I thought about Sarah. Despite everything, she was still my sister. "Let me talk to her," I said. Sarah came on the line, her voice small and scared. "Sheila? I'm sorry for everything. I really need help." I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. "Okay," I said finally. "I'll give you a job, but listen up, there's no special treatment. You screw up, you're out. Got it?" "Yes. Thank you, Sarah gushed. The next morning, Sarah showed up right on time, looking nervous but determined. I put her to work as an administrator, starting her with basic tasks and slowly increasing her responsibilities. To my surprise, she seemed to take it seriously. She was attentive during training, asked good questions, and didn't complain about the work. One night, as we were closing up, Sarah broke down. "I need to tell you the truth," she sobbed. "I didn't steal anything from my last job. My boss, he tried to force himself on me. When I refused, he fired me and spread rumors that I was a thief." I felt a surge of protective anger. "Why didn't you report him? Who would believe me over him?" Sarah wiped her eyes. "I was so scared, Sheila. I didn't know what to do." "I believe you," I said, pulling her into a hug. "And I'm going to help you, okay? We'll figure this out together." Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into teaching Sarah everything I knew about running a restaurant. She soaked it all up like a sponge, eager to learn and prove herself. As I watched her confidently handle a rush of customers, I felt a mix of pride and unease. Sarah was proving to be a quick study and a hard worker. But a nagging voice in the back of my head warned me not to let my guard down completely. At first, everything seemed perfect. Sarah threw herself into her work with an enthusiasm I'd never seen from her before. She was always the first to arrive and the last to leave, taking on extra shifts and volunteering for the toughest tasks. But then, whispers started reaching my ears. At first, I dismissed them as petty workplace gossip. But as the days went by, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Boss, Marco, my head chef, pulled me aside one day. "I think you need to know something. Your sister, she's been saying things. Stirring up trouble." I felt a chill run down my spine. What kind of things? Marco looked uncomfortable. She's been telling people that we're underpaid, that you're hoarding all the profits for yourself. She's even suggested we should go on strike. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That's ridiculous. You all know how tight our margins are. I've always been transparent about the finances. We know, boss, Marco assured me. None of us are buying it. But, there's more. He went on to tell me how Sarah had been claiming that the restaurant rightfully belonged to her, that I had somehow cheated her out of her share of the family money. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. After everything we'd been through, after I'd given her a second chance, this is how she repaid me? I confronted Sarah that evening, my hands shaking with anger and disappointment. What the hell do you think you're doing? I demanded. Sarah's face was a mask of innocence. What are you talking about, sis? I laid out everything I'd heard. To my shock, Sarah just shrugged. Oh, that, she said casually. I was just testing the staff's loyalty. You know, making sure they wouldn't turn on you. Looks like they passed with flying colors. I wanted to believe her. God, how I wanted to believe her. But something in her eyes, a glint of something cold and calculating, made me hesitate. Before I could press her further, we were interrupted by a frantic knock on my office door. It was Jenna, my assistant manager, looking pale and scared. Sheila, we've got a problem, she said. There's a big shortage in the cash register. Over $5,000 missing. We spent the next few hours going over the books, checking and rechecking the numbers. There was no mistake. A significant amount of cash had vanished. Only 3 people had access to that register, Jenna, Marco, and Sarah. I'd known Jenna and Marco for years. They'd been with me from the start, through all the ups and downs. I trusted them with my life. As if reading my thoughts, Sarah sidled up to me. You know, she said in a low voice, I've noticed Jenna staying late a lot lately. And she did just buy that fancy new car. As I watched her walk away, I knew I had a decision to make. I couldn't ignore this. Too much was at stake, my business, my reputation, the livelihoods of all my loyal employees. Late one night, after everyone had gone home, I installed hidden cameras around the cash registers. It felt wrong, like I was betraying my staff's trust. But I had no choice. For days, I watched hours of mundane footage, my eyes burning from staring at the screen. And then, on the 4th night, I saw it. Sarah, moving quickly and furtively, opened the register. Her hands darted in and out, stuffing wads of cash into her pockets. My heart sank. I didn't confront her, I couldn't. Instead, I called the police. The next day, as Sarah was finishing her shift, 2 officers walked in. The look on her face when she saw them, shock, then anger, told me everything I needed to know. She thrashed around, knocking over tables and sending dishes crashing to the floor. I deserve this money. I should be rich, not you. You stole my life. As the police led her away, I felt nothing. No sadness, no regret. Just a hollow emptiness where my love for my sister used to be. The next day, my parents stormed into the restaurant. Mom was crying, Dad's face was beet red with anger. How dare you? Dad roared. Your own sister. Drop the charges now. I stood my ground. No, she stole from me. She needs to face the consequences. I pulled out my phone, showing them the footage of Sarah stealing. Look, I said. This is what your precious Sarah did. She's a thief. They watched, their faces pale. But instead of understanding, their expressions hardened. You set her up, Dad accused. You've always been jealous of her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jealous? Are you kidding me? You gave me scraps and expected me to be grateful. Well, I'm done. Sarah made her choices. Now she has to live with them. They ranted and raved, alternating between threats and pleas. But I stood firm. Get out, I finally said. Get out of my restaurant, get out of my life. If you don't leave now, I'm calling the police. They left, but not before Dad spat out. You'll regret this, Sheila. Mark my words. The trial was a nightmare. Sarah's tearful performance on the stand almost had me doubting myself. But then came the surprise witness, her former boss. He testified about Sarah's behavior at her last job. How she'd aggressively pursued him, threatening to cry sexual harassment when he rejected her advances. How she'd stolen money from the company in retaliation. In the end, the jury found her guilty. As they led her away, she looked at me one last time. There was no remorse in her eyes, only cold hatred. I haven't spoken to my family since that day. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I made the right choice. But then I look around at what I built, at the life I've made for myself, and I know I did. As I stand in the kitchen of my newest restaurant, watching my staff prepare for the dinner rush, I feel a sense of peace wash over me. This is my family now. This is my home. And nobody, not Sarah, not my parents, not anyone, can take that away from me.